I'm here with six-time Grand Slam champion, three-time World Team Tennis champion, and future Hall of Famer, Lindsay Davenport. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview. So this is your 10th year playing World Team Tennis. What is it about World Team Tennis that keeps you coming back year after year?
I've always loved playing team tennis. And the first year I played World Team Tennis, 1993, 19 years ago, which sounds so crazy. I was 17 years old and loved it. It was one of the first experiences I had to play as a team and had people on the bench cheering for me. And I always wondered growing up what it would have been like to play volleyball or a different sport where you had the support of people so close, and
right.
that they could take over for you if you got injured or were nervous or weren't feeling well. And it's been one of these really big highlights of my career to be able to play team tennis and have fun and work with teammates and work as a unit for 3 to 4 weeks out of the whole year. And you just normally don't get that on the tour. It's such an individual sport, and it's always about you, and I'm very selfish, and always enjoyed trying to help my teammates be better and to try and help us achieve a common goal, which is obviously always win if you can.
And is Billie Jean King, did she personally get you involved?
She didn't, which was funny. My coach at the time, who's here in Orange County, played through the 80s, and he thought it was great, and he thought it would be really good for my development at 17 to go play team tennis and play these sets and work on my game and get a taste of what it was like. And it was one of the best things I did. And I learned a lot, and I was young, and I had great teammates taking care of me because I was so young and traveling and getting up early for flights and all of that kind of stuff. And after I played it just that one season, I always wanted to play and always have tried to play and make room for it in my entire career.
And now, did that help you become a Grand Slam champion, not only in singles but also in doubles?
Well, it was imperative for me as a player just to learn how to play under those circumstances. You go to other teams, and even though it's in the States, I mean, if you go play away in Washington, D.C. or some of these other towns, I mean, the fans are cheering very loud against you. They're not disrespectful, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. And so as a young player, you're not really used to people kind of cheering against you. Right. And then on the opposite, I had great support of my home team at that season. I was playing for Sacramento. So that part was a really good introduction to learning how to play under hostile is an extreme word, but environments where the fans aren't always for you. It got me to learn to play doubles and mixed doubles, because a lot of times the coach would have me go back out there for mix. So you never know when you take these paths in your career what if I hadn't done this, or if I had done this, how things would be different. But I'm very glad that I played at a young age and then continued to play, and it definitely helped the progression of my career.
And did you ever get a chance to play against men, in the mixed doubles?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I've played mixed almost every season. The coach tends to throw me out there for as many sets as he can.
Really? I would think so. That would be great for women then.
It is great, and it's so different. And the ball comes much harder. It's very hard to even get a return back into play. And a lot of times that's what it comes down to. If you can make those few returns and just try and make that one extra ball. For the women in mixed doubles, you hit about 80% of the balls. I mean, you don't.
Going after you.
Yeah, always, and that's your strategy as well. Is if they're both in net, you always hit to the women. If you can't, and trying to find that spot, and so you have to learn how to be able to defend yourself and hang in there in mixed doubles and get a little tougher and be able to kind of withstand the barrage of shots that you get.
And now. Did you run across any legends, because you said you started when you were 17?
The first season I played was Jimmy Connors. He played in the Phoenix team. I'll remember this specifically.
I saw him when he played there.
Yeah, and so our team played him. We were in the same league in team tennis, so I played him, I think, 3 times that season. That was my really big experience with that. Yeah, 1993. And it was in 91 where he had his great run to the semis at I'm just going to say an older age because I don't exactly remember how old he was.
39.
Yeah, and so he was 41 when he played me in team tennis. But I was so nervous, even just like seeing him on the other side of the bench. I remember even playing women's singles going, oh my gosh, he's sitting right there. So that was the first big big star that I played against in team tennis. I mean, he's 17.
And he was playing at a pretty high level.
Very high level.
Because I think even a couple years later, he still made it to the quarters.
Those guys are incredible. Those guys that were at the very top. I mean, you watch McEnroe play now, and McEnroe is, I think, 50-something. He's amazing. He's so good. Those guys will always be so good because they're just...
Those are standouts.
Yeah, some of the best ever. And it was a lot of fun. I also got Navratilova, got to play against her that season.
Oh, really?
But for whatever reason, Connors has always stuck out to me as the first legend that I really kind of played against.
He's my idol growing up. Great. Okay, so what's it like working with Billie Jean King?
Oh, it's great. I loved her. I first started working with her for Fed Cup, which is the U.S. Team event for the best players, and she was first my captain in 1995. And I was only 18, 19 back then. And so I've learned so much from her throughout the years. She's been an incredible friend, incredible to learn from her when you see her day in and day out and how she approaches life and how she approaches her tasks and her enthusiasm and her love of the sport and her unbelievable support of women and women's sports. It's amazing to be around, just the courage that she's had over her whole career. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, if you're around her and you work with her and you get a chance to be close to her, you feel like you're just so lucky.
I honestly think, I'm not just saying this because I honestly think she's the most important person, hands down, in sports, period.
It's been amazing, and I wouldn't just say that. She's been an incredible friend and mentor and person, and you can't help but be around her and just be like, your jaw drops for the first thing whenever you hear her tell stories. It's amazing.
She's great.
Yeah,
she's great. So you played WTT during your prime. Do you think it's a good idea for the top players to play WTT?
For sure, and for the top players, it gets a little different. It's a grind, team tennis, because you play late at night and you get up in the morning and then you got to practice and play again that night. And so the top players, you'll normally find them playing not the full season. They'll play, depending on the player, 5 matches, sometimes 6 or 7. But it's so much fun, and it's fun. I remember watching I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, it was Roddick was playing McEnroe, and I watched it on TV. I think it was the Tennis Channel, and it's amazing to watch these guys play. I mean, Roddick was getting nervous, and he was so nervous playing McEnroe in this one set, and it came down to the tiebreak, and it was 5-4. Roddick won, but it was a deciding point. They both had match point, and it was fun to watch. The fans love it, the players love it, and there's still a lot of pressure in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're in front of people. And
yeah. Oh my gosh, it was fun to watch.
So this is your 3rd season with the Breakers, I believe.
Yeah.
Describe the team this year. Can you guys win it all?
I hope so. I really like our team. I think we've got a great chance. I was very, I don't want to say particular, but I definitely know who I wanted for my female partner. I'm not as sharp on the men's side of the game and who would be great fits. And so Trevor kind of took over that part as well. But talking to the manager and talking to Trevor, I knew I wanted Annalena as my partner, and I was very happy when we got to our part of the draft that she was available because she's a great player. She serves well. We're playing indoors. It's going to be fast. And so I wanted a player who was aggressive and played doubles well, and she definitely encompasses that. And the 2 guys I've heard are great. I don't know John Patrick Smith, so I have never met him, but I do know Travis, who's a great guy, a lot of fun. He's very good looking. So hopefully we'll do well. I mean, you never know when you build a team what the chemistry's like. And I've certainly been on most of the teams I've been on. It's been great, and we've all gotten along well. Sometimes you just don't click. So hopefully we'll all gel nicely together.
Yeah. Now you're playing, of course, obviously the singles, but you're going to end the doubles because you mentioned you're going to play any mixed doubles. It's really up to the captain, night in and night out. That's a lot for one person.
It is, but luckily the sets only go to 5. It's indoors. The points will be fast. So every time I've played team tennis, I've tried to say to the coach, whatever, if it comes down to the mix and it's the last set and maybe my partner's not playing great, he wants me to play, you've got it. Maybe my partner and the mixed team are doing great. I've always been open to whatever, and that's the beauty about team tennis. It's like you have to be a team player out there. If I'm losing in singles, I want the coach to pull me out. It's about trying to win, and
right.
You can't really have an ego. You have to just let it all play out, and you never know when the season starts how it's going to kind of work its way through the season.
Yeah, just a real quick question. You hit the ball flat. I mentioned that earlier. Why don't more players today hit the ball flat? And just part of that question is, as they're getting taller, it seems to me the ball's bouncing higher. Wouldn't that give you more margin for error so you could hit the ball flat? Why does everybody put so much spin on it?
How technology's gone, a big part of that is the string, and how the strings now have a little bit more rigid edges, so the spin comes naturally. And then players see this once-in-a-lifetime player, Nadal, who hits with so much spin, and they think, oh, that's who I have to emulate. But to play that style of game is so incredibly difficult. Yeah. But you'll see players continually try and do that. It's especially men's tennis has really gone that way, where they're hitting more spin, more consistent, but it's really the strings and the racket that allow that to happen. We'll see. I mean, I grew up in that era in the 90s where it was a lot of flat power tennis for the women's side with Sellis and even someone like Mary Pierce and Capriati. And I mean, Graf had a really flat forehand. Backhand, obviously, she had a slice, but that's what I was used to. Even the Williams sisters are hit so hard and flat. Interesting to see if women's tennis goes to quite that extreme with the spin as men's tennis has. But some guys on the men's tour, like Berdych, hits the ball pretty, he's pretty tall and flat and gets right into strike zone. But I think because Nadal's kind of changed the way that young players have learned to play the sport.
Okay. So, good answer. And so now, which teams do you think you'll have to go through to win it all?
Well, Washington, D.C. is always one of the best teams. And if we were to get there, it wouldn't be to play them until the final. And they are, that owner has a lot of passion for his team, and he gets really great teams every year, great crowds. So that's always kind of the team you look at when the season starts. For us being on the West, I think that Sacramento is probably going to be the challenge for the Western Conference. They have a good team. I know the owner well. He's put together a pretty good team to try and get through on our side as well.
Okay, great. And on your work as an analyst, have you gained any insights doing that? Have you learned anything that you didn't know as a player?
It's interesting. When I was a player, I would watch for a few games and just to try and get a sense of like my opponents or how some of the other top players were playing. And now sitting there and trying to focus on a match for 2 hours, that's been a big challenge of mine. To see how a match completely plays out and the ebbs and the flows and what they go through the match. But I've loved it. I've loved seeing the difference in the game in the last few years. I love seeing players, I call them my generation, but seeing Sharapova and Serena. I mean, I feel like I played in a really strong generation, and they're still the favorites. It's been remarkable to see their longevity. It's been great to see Azarenka change her game to get to the top, and interesting to see Wozniacki not be able to do that and start to fall in the ranks. So I've loved it. I've always loved the sport. I've always loved watching it. I wasn't one of those players that had this love-hate relationship with tennis. I've always loved it. And I feel incredibly grateful that I'm able to still experience the sport and still be a part of it, even though I'm not playing day in and day out and competing on the main tour level.
And then and follow up on that, second to last
question.
No problem. Let's fast forward a few months. Let's say your team wins the World Team Tennis Championship, and let's say you win again for the third time the MVP. Would you ever consider going back to the main tour at all?
No, I can't do it now. I'm going to be 36 this summer and 3 kids, and life is great, and life is great in these little doses of, I call it not my reality, playing tennis and competing again. But to play here in Orange County where I live and where my kids are is much different. I'm with them all day. They can come watch me play at night, and I come home and get to wake up with them in the morning. All of a sudden you start talking about the tour and you're traveling for weeks and weeks on end, and I'd have to then, my day would then be 6 to 8 hours of training. It encompasses so much more, and I'm really happy with the family and want to be there for the kids day in and day out.
So no plans to go in and steal Wimbledon this year?
No, we're good.
Okay. And well, here's the last one. Since you are a prognosticator, who do you think is going to win the French and Wimbledon championships this year?
It's interesting. I would say I would put a lot of money on Serena at Wimbledon. She's had a really nice first 5 months to the year. She hasn't overplayed. She's healthy. She's a lot fitter than she has been. interesting at the French Open, where she hasn't been past the quarterfinals since '03. So red clay's not her favorite. She's played really well leading up. I don't have a definitive favorite on the French Open. If I had to guess, I'd say it would come between Sharapova, Serena, and Azarenka. But
Sharapova, really?
Yeah, I mean, she's played great. She won Stuttgart, she won Rome. She's confident on the surface. Those three are playing the best tennis. Will one of them come through? I'd have to think it's going to be one of those three.
So somebody that hits the ball flat, big server, you think can win?
There's no great clay quarter right now in women's tennis. All these players can kind of play well on every surface. You know, they don't have to go through Justine Henin, who was so good on the clay, or even like Arantxa Sanchez, or I mean, Steffi Graf was so good on clay as well. They're just playing the same game on a different surface. Okay. And I think that those three are a level above everyone else.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Problem.
I really appreciate this.
Nice to meet you.